Okay. Today we're going to start by Gufa on Yud Beis Beis. It's about 10 lines from the bottom. Okay. Thank Hashem that's able to learn Torah every day. Supposed to be learning Hashem the best in English. Immediately. Learning the lineage from us, Savagol the Basra Prinyam, and then songs of them. And also for Shlema, Avram David Ben Sarah. God gets all has been taken to prayer. How's he found it there? It's yum yum. It's like a big truck outside. You're moving. It's so furniture.
That's at my house.
Outside your father's house.
Oh, my brother's working on it.
Okay. And also first name for my father, and Miriam, and also for Jimmy, Brian Ben Sarah. Okay. So Gemara starts like this. Kufa. Moshe, okay? It says, Amar Shmuel, Ema Abnes Hashana B'Yim Shleishim Shalada Hel V'El Kevin. The way they would do, they would make a leap year is they would add an extra Adar. Now you can only add an extra Adar while it's an Adar. You can add an extra Adar once it's Nisan. But let's jump back. So there was one day where it could become Nisan if the Bezdin says Mekudesh Mekudesh. It's the 30th day of Adar. It could become Nisan and it could also be Adar. So what about that day? So Shmuel says you can't make a leap year on that one day because it's potential that could be Nisan. So we're quoting, we mentioned this before, we're quoting it again. Ibru Amai. Gemara says, let's say they did. You're not allowed to do it that day, but let's say they did. Would it become an extra month? Would it be a leap year? So now, Reb Naftali, you have to take into account that this is being done by small Bati Dinim. It could be a Bezdin in one place, and there's another Bezdin in another place. So we're talking about the Bezdin wants to make a leap year. Meanwhile, a court of three judges says Mekudesh Mekudesh. Down the road. This is some of the Bezdin.
How does that work?
So that's they're going to find out soon that the two people, the two Bati Dinim, did things that are contradictory. Someone's going to get fired.
And they're in different places, presumably. They're not both in Jerusalem.
Right, or even if they are, but down the road, if you have doesn't need to be one central Bezdin. Well,
I know there's a story of one time there was some kind of upheaval in Jerusalem, military, and the month was Makadesh in Bavel for all of
the
Jewish people, yeah.
Was that Bismana Shas, or was that after?
I don't recall the details.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get how this works, but
apparently they were still being Mekadesh L'Chodesh in the days of the Gainim. According to some opinions, they were still, even though they had the calendar, they were still doing this.
that's interesting. Where
Where did I see that?
No, where were they doing it?
Oh, yeah, somewhere in Bavel, I think by the days of the Rif or something. Before those days, I read it in something from Reb Menachem Kasher. I think it was in an article in the Torah Shlema. There was one of the things over there was about, if I'm not mistaken, something about the Kiddush HaChodesh. Anyway, with the stipulation, right, yeah. Here that's not what Ibru Amai. Here they actually consecrated the month, and at the same time another Bezdin was trying to add an extra. one
Extra
Beis
day
Din
to the
added a day to the month, and another Beis Din is adding a year to the month to the year. So Amar Ula says, Ein Mekachin Es HaChedesh. You'll do that. Oh no, 1 second. I jumped over here. The first statement is from Shmuel. Shmuel says you're not allowed to make it into a leap year on that day. It says, let's say they did. Let's say a Beis Din did. So what do you do now? So Amar Ula Ein Mekachin Es HaChedesh. Okay. So don't make the month into Nisan. Leave the month as Adar, and b'diavad it'll work. This is Kid Shemai. Let's say they did. This is what I was talking about. Let's say another Beis Din did say that it was a leap, not a leap month. It was already Nisan. Meanwhile, another Beis Din said that it's a leap year. Rava says actually it would work better if this is Rabbah. And I'm not just making that up, but I saw that in Rabbeinu Chananel. Rabbah says Batal Iber. It's not considered a leap year. Yeah, Batal Iber. It's too late. And it's already Nisan. Rav Nachman Amar Meuber Mekadosh. Rav Nachman says it's both. Okay, now the reason why I say it's better for Rava is because Amalei Rava, it's better if it was Rabbah. So Amalei Rava or Rav Nachman. Rava's going to ask Rav Nachman a question. Yeah, but Rava speaks to Rav Nachman. Rava, yeah, but he's going to ask a question that would really be a question on him as well, if it would be Rabbah. So it's better if it's Rava that he can ask a question. Amalei Rava or Rav Nachman. Let's see. Michti. 1 second. So we have a machlekes of what's going to be. Is it going to be a leap year or not? Is it going to be Nisan? Is it going to be a leap year? Well, Michti. Let's see. Mipuria lepischa tlasin yaimin havi. There's 30 days between Purim and Pesach. Mipuria darshinan belchas Pesach, and on Purim start to talk about Hilchas Pesach by the Siddur Purim. Start already discussing. Don't bring the hamantashen into the closet, right? Yeah. That's how you talk about Hilchas Pesach. So no shalachman, no hiding shalachmanis in your drawers.
And Hanukkah you talk about.
Right. What are we going to dress up as? The Tanya was taught in a brayso Shalom Hilchas Pesach. The Pesach Shlishim Yom. We discuss Hilchas Pesach 30 days before. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel Mishtei Shabbasis. Ben Gamliel says 2 weeks. Okay. B'chimati Reish Yarch. Once it becomes Rosh Chodesh, Marchinan, then they say, okay, Pesach is not going to be this month. It's going to be, instead of 30 days, now Pesach is going to be in 45 days, right? It's going to be an extra 30 days later. It says, Asil zilzule b'chametz. People aren't going to take this serious. Yeah, well, it's a shaila, it's a Pesach. If it's not Pesach, it's just people, it's not going to be serious. If you started discussing the laws of Pesach, and then as you come to Pesach, you push it away. Now, the reason why it's better if this is Rava asking the question is because according to Rabbah, we're talking about 1 day. There's 1 day machlekes between Rabbah and Rav Nachman. According to if it's the 30th day of Adar, Rabbah says that it's nothing. Rav Nachman says no, it's still good. But the problem that he's bringing up now is a problem with Rabbah also. The 1 day difference, is not going to change this. So that's why if Rav is asking the question, Rav is asking a generic question. Well, Rav also communicates with Rav Nachman. But anyway, I'm sorry. I'm switching the first one for Rabbah, who's arguing with Rav Nachman. I'm leaving the question, which is the way Rabbeinu Chananel does it. So, which is good. Anyway, Amarle, he responds, "May the idea the shaitim abarta b'chushman Italia mills." Everyone knows that the way leap years are calculated has to do with calculations. Let's say that they didn't get the calendar worked out until now. This is the people know how this is how it works, right? You get used to it. It's like getting used to what time Shachris is here on Shabbos Mevarchim. You get used to it, right? You guys daven in the early minyan. The later minyan, it's whenever we're ready. That's it. Okay, people walk in. For the first time you hear, you're a little surprised. Afterwards, you say, yeah. You got it. You understand how it works.
It was this Shabbos was special.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel. You ready? We'll get some calculations over here. The year. Tell me if this works out. The year is a solar year is 365 days, right? So if you divide that into 4, you'd be left with you'd have equal parts of 91 and 90 and 91 would be 182, and then you double that, you'd be 364, right? So what you'll do is you'll do 91 in 6 hours, 91 in 6 hours, 91 in 6 hours, 91 in 6 hours. We'll give you 365. Each one of these segments of 91 days and 6 hours is called a tkufa. It's a season. So I think it works from solstice to equinox to solstice, right?
Yeah.
Those are the equinoxes when the days are equal, are even, right? Yeah. So in the
Is that everywhere or just like?
at the equator, what is it? 12 hours each, right? Anyway, we're going to be going back and forth over here between the different seasons and trying to work out. There's two sources that we're going to be using. One source, which is going to be introduced over here, is that Sukkot needs to fall out in the new season. It says Chag HaAsif Tekufas Hashana. The holiday of ingathering on Sukkot, which is the gathering in the grain from the field. That's going to take place in the new season, Tekufas Hashana, in the season of the year, which we're expecting to mean a new season, meaning the winter season. And there was another source that Pesach should be in the spring, in that season, which is called Tekufas Tammuz, which is actually the summer season, right?
Is fall part of
How many
winter and
days are
spring
there?
part of summer?
Oh, actually, no. It would be the spring. There should be 182 days in between those two holidays.
Is the fall considered winter and spring considered summer? If we break it down.
No, it'd be you'd have fall. You'd have each of those. You'd have the 4 seasons.
Shavuos is the one that needs to end in the summer, so we have the time.
Right. But that's only 49 days. That's not 91 days. Yeah. That's going to be Shavuos is going to be still in the spring. Okay, so let's take a look at this. I'm Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel. Ema Abner Asashana. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel that we don't make a leap year. Elam kein haiset kufa chasera ruba shel tishrei, unless the summer season is going to be missing most of Tishrei. That means not missing most of Tishrei. That means it's going to go into the majority of Tishrei. B'kamaru b'shel Tishrei. So if that's going to happen, if we can figure that out already back in Pesach time, back in Adar, that you're going to end up in 6 months, you're going to end up with the summer season encroaching on into Tishrei most of the month. Then we have to add another year to get it away from to get Tishrei away from it. Kamaru b'shel Chodesh. What is considered the majority of the month? Shisha Siyam de Rabbi Yehuda. It's a machlekes. Shmuel is quoting a brisa.
Excuse me, can we have a different gear, sir? Could you get them saying Tishrei and I just Chodesh every day? Or am I on the wrong one?
No, I'm translating Chodesh as Tishrei.
Oh, okay.
The month. Yeah. Why am I doing that? I'm following Rashi. There may be other sources, but I don't know if does yours add that in when you does it say which month?
We have it in the notes.
Oh, you have it in the notes. Okay.
Change it.
Okay. How much is the majority of the month? You say 16 days. That's the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi says, Echad v'esrim yom, 21 days. So in other words, we're fine with the summer season. We're fine with Tishrei being in the summer season, up until the 21st day would be Hoshana Rabbah, up until Hoshana Rabbah. Yeah? Makes sense? So we have the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21th is the seventh day, is Hoshana Rabbah, up until Hoshana Rabbah. So if that's we learn this from the following pasuk. It says, the holiday of ingathering is the season of the year. Now, Mar Savar, this master holds, which is Rabbi Yehuda, he holds, the whole holiday of Sukkot, Chag is referring to Sukkot, the whole holiday of Sukkot needs to be in the new season. And therefore, if 16 days, if the Tkufa falls on the 16th day, then it's already too late. Yeah. Why is the 16th day? Because it's already, the 15th was Sukkot, the 16th is already Chalamayid. The way the Gemara is learning this is that Chag HaAsif, the holiday of ingathering, Gemara is going to discuss this, but basically on Yom Tov itself, you're not allowed to gather in the grain because it's Yom Tov. But on Chalamayid, if there's certain conditions that have to be met to work on Chalamayid, but one of them is a davar of it. If it's something that's a loss. So if there's a loss, you are allowed to gather in. You are allowed to, this Sukkot. I thought maybe some of my plants don't need watering. They'll survive. Mistake. But you're allowed to water your plants on Chalamayid if they're not going to make it. But you're not allowed to just water it just because that's a regular malacha. But if davar of it, if they're not going to make it, then you water it. So Mar Savar Kul Chag B'Inam B'Tkuva Chadasha. That's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, that you need the entire holiday, excluding the first day, because the first day is Yom Tov. But you need to have Chalamayid. The whole Chalamayid needs to be in the new season. In Mar Savar, Rabbi Yossi holds Mixas Chag B'Inam B'Tkuva Chadasha. I only need the last day, Hoshana Rabbah, to be in the new season. That's why there's a machlekes here. 16 days or 21 days, we'll have to add a leap year. Micah Safri, Gemara says, what's going on over here? Now, if you remember, we said that it's 91, but there's an hour, there's a 6 hour that's coming into play here, which is going to affect how we're going to view the day that it falls on. So it says, Micah Savri, what are they holding? Ika Savri Yom Tkufa Gaimer, if they're holding that the day of the equinox or the solstice, whichever one, is that considered the last day or is that considered the first day? If that's considered the last day of the old season, so then anyways, we're in trouble. If you need the whole, if the equinox is on the 16th of Tishrei, then I'm missing, if that's the last day of the old season, what is that, the last day or is that the new day, right? So if that's the last day, then I'm missing one day of Chalamayid. Or according to the other opinion, if that's the last day, then I'm missing the whole entire Chalamayid, 21 days, because that's Hoshana Rabbah. So
91 days.
Per season, 91. So Elika Sabri Yom Tkufa Maskal. Okay, we have an easy teretz. Yom Tkufa Maskal. We have a teretz. It's that is considered the new day, the new season. So if it's on the 16th, perfect. I have the entire Chalamayid. If it's on the 21st, perfect. I have the one day of Chalamayid, which is Hoshana Rabbah, which is in the new season, and everything works out. All right, sounds good. Meisvei, the Gemara has a question. Yom Tkufa Gaimer. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says no, that the day of the equinox concludes the season. We just lost our teretz, right? Rabbi Yossi says Yom Tekufa Maschal. Rabbi Yossi says that the day of the equinox begins the season. Okay, it turns out that's a machlekes. So that the way we just explained it isn't going to fit. Tanya, we have another problem. We have another brisa. Ein ma'aber mesashana, elam kein haset kufa chasera ruba shel chaydash. The only time you could make a leap year is if the season is going to be missing a majority of the month. The kama ruba shel chaydash. How much is the majority of the month? Shisha siyam, 16 days. Who held that before? That was the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda before. Comes along this price and says, Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, shtei yadis b'chaydash. 2 parts of a month. What is 2 parts of a month? 2 parts out of what? The Gemara says, 2 parts out of what? It says, well, chaf yom, 20 days. So it means 2 parts out of 3. Which is 20, you divide the month into 30 days. So 20 days is 2 parts. Okay, 0.667. Right.
Yeah, 51.
Okay. Okay. So this messes up our understanding before, because it wasn't Rabbi Yehuda that said, well, even it was Rabbi Yossi that said 21 days. Now we're saying Rabbi Yehuda saying 20 days. It's not even 21 days, 20 days. Rabbi Yossi says, Mechashvin shisha siyam Mechashvin. Yeah, I should put a comma there. I should read this. Mechashvin. You have to calculate. Shisha siyam lefnei Pesach, if it's 16 days before Pesach, because that's another season. If it but the way you have to calculate it is that the wind, right? If it's Kufas Tevis, the winter season is Shisha Asar Yom Lifnei Pesach, goes into the month of, it's Shisha Asar Yom, if it goes into the month of Nisan, 16 days. That's very difficult to read. Shisha Asar Yom Lifnei Pesach sounds like we're back in Ada. No, what the main means is Shisha Asar Yom Lifnei Pesach. That means the season, the tkufa of Lifnei Pesach, is 16 days into Nisan. Then Ma'abrin, then we have to make a leap year, right? That's a tough read. Tkufas Tevis, it's referring to. Then Ma'abrin, then we're gonna have to make a leap year. Now the explanation for that is that if the season goes into to Nisan 16 days, then I have 14 days left of Nisan. Let's take Iyar and Sivan, 130, 129 would be 59 days. So I have 14 plus 59. And let's take Tammuz and Ab also as 59. So I have 2 59s and plus a 14. That would give me 132. Okay. Then I have Elul, which is 29 days. 132 and 29 would be 161. Yeah. And then I have Tishrei. If I add to Tishrei 21 days into Tishrei, I'd be left with 182, which would be 2 seasons later. So if the winter season is on the 16th of Nisan, that's going to mean that the new season is going to be on Hoshana Rabbah. So Rabbi Yossi is saying that what I'm looking over here is that if it ends on the 16th of Nisan, then I have to make a leap year. But Shisha Asar Lifnei Chag, but 16 days before Sukkot, that's not a problem. Ein ma'avrin, I don't have to make a leap year. It sounds like I would only have to make a leap year if it's 21 days into Sukkot, which is actually Rabbi Yossi's opinion before, which is okay, right? That's just funny the way he's telling it to me. He's telling it to me back from Pesach, how it's going to affect Tishrei, right? He didn't do that before. Before he was just told me directly what I need in what's going to be significant in Tishrei. But now he's telling me, well, you'll know that back in Pesach time if the solstice is going to be on the 16th of Nisan. Reb Shimon says, Af Shisha Asa Lefnei Chag, the equinox, not the solstice, the equinox. Reb Shimon says, no, even 16 days before Sukkot, you already have to make a leap year, which that was a little odd. The Gemara is going to ask, because that seems to be the opinion of the Tanakama. Shisha Siyam. So what's the difference? How do I have machlekes when they say the same thing? Right? Why do you have to bring in another opinion when they agree? Achirim say miyutay. Even a small amount of the month. How much is the miyut? It's going to be 14 days, and we'll see what that means.
Who's the Chayrim?
Achirim is usually Reb Meir, but we do have sources that in a brisa it's not necessarily Reb Meir. In a Mishnah it's Reb Meir. Remember we had a taisva somewhere. There's a taisva that says Achirim in a brisa is Reb Meir, but then I think we had a taisva that said Achirim in a brisa is not necessarily Reb Meir. Anyway, the Gemara says kasha. This contradicts what we said before, especially with Rabbi Yehuda, because you were trying to say Yom Tekufa Goymer, Yom Tekufa Maschil, that the day of the equinox is the beginning of the new one, and now you also told me that Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's 16 days. Over here, apparently, it says 20 days, so we're in trouble. Amar Mar, let's go back to analyze what's going on. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Shtei Yodis B'Chodesh Esrim Yom said that 2 parts of the month, 20 days. Rabbi Yossi says that you have to calculate. Shisha Siyam Lefnei Pesach, if there's 16 days into Nisan. For Tkufas Tevis, then Ma'avrin. Gemara says, 1 second. 16 days before Pesach is $16 days before Pesach. So Rabbi Yossi is saying 16 days before Pesach, we're going to make a leap year. But Rabbi Yossi held that you need the majority of the holiday to be finished. Rabbi Yossi said that that I don't need kula chag. I don't need the whole holiday. I need only part of the holiday. Now I explained it already based on the holiday of Sukkot, right? So. Oh, no, so 1 second. Rabbi Yossi says, Shishas L'Pnei Pesach, and Rabbi Yossi says, Echad V'Esrim Yom. It says, Hainu Rabbi Yehuda.
When it says 16 days, does it mean it like the and then it says 2/3,
No, because when he says 16 days, he's referring, it doesn't have to do with the percent now. It has to do with if you're entering into, if the holiday of Sukkot is going to be entirely in the old season, or if it's going to be partially in the new season, or entirely in the new season. Doesn't have, don't confuse it with Rabbi Yehuda said, both of them are referring to the holiday, and they're using majority of the month, 16 days of the month, but the concept of what day Sukkot falls out on the 15th of the month is the whole significance to this.
So is this Gemara saying that just as we have to adjust Pesach to the solar calendar, Sukkot has to be adjusted to the solar calendar also?
Yeah, it's not even using that reference of just as Pesach. Pesach is gonna show up later like as an afterthought. Oh yeah, by the way, Pesach also has an issue. Right now, Sukkot is the main thing.
So is this saying that the decision to Ma'ubar the Shana is made
Because of Sukkot.
because of Sukkot?
Yeah.
Why do we say
Even though we have a pasuk about when Pesach must be.
Yeah, but the Gemara starts with the pasuk about when Sukkot must be.
Sukkot must be.
Yeah.
So we're not out there until Odorah?
Yeah, so we have to calculate it based on when it's going to fall out, based on what we know of in Adar. We know it's going to be 182 days later, right? 91 plus 91.
Yeah, but this thing we just read about 16 days, whatever, or.
It looks like it's 16 days before
Doesn't
Pesach.
make a difference because as soon as you ma'aber it, you stuck another month in there.
But why were you ma'aber? Because I need to get another month in. Because if you're not, you're gonna be left with sukkahs falling out with partially into the
The wrong season.
right.
But isn't one of the big deals about Pesach that it has to be when the grain is going to be harvested? Because we
Right,
need Neumer.
Right. But that you'll have to wait for the next page to see that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so far we're like ignoring this. This is the
Okay.
problem is we know too much.
Not me.
I think we're starting off without that knowledge. So what's coming out now is that if Rabbi Yehuda says 20 days into the month of Tishrei, and Rabbi Yossi says that the tkufa needs to fall out on the 21st day, both of them are holding mikta sachag is enough. If it would be, and the 21st is a problem, but the 20th would be fine. So now, the part of that means part of Sukkot would be acceptable. So the Gemara says, Yom Tkufa Gomer, Yom Tkufa Maskala Kabinayu. No, there's a difference between Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda based on is the equinox, the day of the equinox, is that considered the last day of the old season? Is that the first day of the new season? And the way we're going to do this is Rabbi Yehuda is going to hold that Yom Tkufa Gomer, that's the last day. And that's why you need 20 days into the month. Because the 21st day, let me take a look at that again. If you have 20 days into the month, it's already a problem because the equinox is going to fall on the 21st, which is a problem, right? Because I can't use the equinox as part of as a day to be on Sukkot. And Rabbi Yossi says that no, that if it falls on the 21st, so that's going to be acceptable. Because that's Yom Tkufa Maskal. That's gonna be the new season. It'll be fine. Okay, Amar Mar. Now we go to discuss another issue that we had in this price. If it's 16 days before Sukkot, which opinion was this? This was Shisha Asiyim Lefnei Achag. This is Rabbi Yossi. 16 days before Sukkot, that's not a reason to if the summer season falls out 16 days into Tishrei, that's not a reason to postpone it, to make a leap year. One second. According to Rabbi Yossi, it worked out that I can get it up to 21 and I still don't have to make a leap year. Why did he say 16? You don't have to make a leap year. That's not the point. It was based on 16 days before Pesach, falls out on the 21st day of Tishrei. And then he says, but if it's only the 16th day of Tishrei, what about 17, 18, 19, 20? Which the same halacha would apply. I also don't make a leap year. So the Gemara says, but when you told me about Pesach and you add 182 days to that, then your comfort's falling on the 20th day or the 21st day of Tishrei. And you're telling me that the 16th of Tishrei doesn't matter. The Gemara says, like, both of them, this is just a linguistic, stylistic. Both of them ain ma'abrin. That's not a reason to make a leap year. Because you were telling me 16 days before Pesach, which would mean that 2 seasons later, 182 days later, would be the 21st of Tishrei. So now we also mentioned 16 days before. Okay.
Just wondering.
First statement. If winter exceeds, we intercal. Implication, if some extends less than that, we do not intercalculate. Second statement. Tishrei. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, they spelled it out here in this. It's not really a chart. It's like What's that joke where they said people started to do PowerPoints? They said death by PowerPoint. When you just put a lot of words into a chart, and it's like it's an old-fashioned blackboard. It's not. I like to see people. No pictures. Okay. So I did Tani Reisha Shishas Lefnei Pesach Tanam Shisha Lefnei Chag. You use the number 16 when it came to Pesach. We're going to use the number 16 here. We really mean up 20 when we're talking about Sukkot. Okay, now let's discuss Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon said Shishas Lefnei Chag, 16 days before Sukkot. Reb Shimon, I'm Shishas Lefnei Chag Ma'abrin. You make a leap year. Haina Tanakama. That's the same thing as the Tanakama. They also said 16 days into Tishrei. It could be Nayo Yom Tkufa Maskal Yom Tkufa Goymer V'Lei Mesaimi. There's a difference between them. The only thing is, we don't know who holds what. But there's a difference between them. Are we saying 16 including 16? Or are we saying 16 not including 16? Is the day of the equinox the last day of the old season, which is not good for us? Or is the day of the equinox the first day of the new season, which is good for us? One of them holds like this, one of them holds like that. I mean, it's unclear who holds what, but there still is a difference between them. V'lei Mesaimi means, and it's not conclusive. Yeah.
Usually when we begin a day is like a day, like this.
Yeah. The only thing is that over here, there's 6 hours that plays into it. So because of the 6 hours, you can take it this way, you can take it that way. Yeah. There is a discussion about bar mitzvah. Person was born, let's say in the afternoon. Then when he becomes bar mitzvah in the morning, he has not reached 365 or whatever 13 times because it's still in the morning. His 13th time would have to reach that. So if it's miyes liyes, if you have to calculate from exactly to the birth, then he's not really bar mitzvah in the morning. I never heard anyone being makbid on that. Like, oh, 1 second, my mother told me it was.
But I think it's
59 a.m. One more minute.
Yeah. Others say, we said possibly Reb Meir. Says miyute, part of the month. Become a miyute. How much is part of the month? Arba asur 14 days. Micah Sabri, what is he holding? Does he say that the last day of the season, that the day of the equinox is the last day of the old season? And then you need the entire holiday to be part of the new season. Then very good. You have it. What is this? This looks like a question, right? Let me just see how they put it over here. There you go. Uh-huh. So we're asking that really you should have one more day to play with. He said 14 days. But even if you hold that the Yom Tkufa, that the day of the equinox is the old one, but even if it falls on the 15th, but I still have the 16, 17, and I only need Chalamayid. That's what we were saying the whole time. Amar Shmuel Bar Yitzchak, Achirim B'Tkufas Nisan Kaimi. They're not referring to Tishrei, which is interesting because he just said Miyuta. He didn't give me any details about which month we're referring to. He says we're going back 6 months. We're going back to Nisan, and and he holds. This is how this is introduced. You see, Reb Naftali. This is the first time that we're introducing that Pesach needs to be in the Chodesh Aviv. in the spring. You have to make sure that the spring should be Nisan, that it should be in the month of Nisan, which means that the first 14 days of the month of Nisan need to be in the spring. Nisan, that should be in the newness of the month of Nisan. And that's only until the 14th day. So the Aviv has to be in those 14 days. The Gemara said
Nisan and Aviv are different time periods, aren't they?
yeah, well, the Aviv would be more associated with the solar.
Right.
Those are set. You were asking about the same Kalamata, what it has to do with December 4th. It has to do with the seasons. But sometime in history they added I think 14 days or 11 days to a calendar. Gregory or one of the kings added the 14 days. He messed us up. So because of that, we're December. Really, I think it's supposed to be this, and then they changed something. But we celebrate them all just in case, right?
No, because the fact that I thought it was December 5th.
December 5th, the December 6th, the December 4th is in.
But the fact that it says December, not
It's based on the solstice.
And the
But it's
Hebrew
not. But
calendar
when
is
you look
not
in
based
the
off the solstice?
no,
No.
that's the.
Oh.
But when you look in the calendar, you say what's the solstice, and it says September or something, 23rd or November or something, November. That's just because we're thrown off because of that adjustment to the calendar. So,
Even in the Roman calendar, you see that was like the spring never falls. Beginning of spring never falls on the same day. Like, different days.
really? No, I think you have it set every year. No, isn't it set? Look on Google.
I know because I'm there. Because my birthday sometimes lands in the beginning of spring, and sometimes it doesn't.
Maybe it's like a day off, depending on a leap year or something. It should be set because it has to do with the solar cycle. The Gemara asks an interesting question. The Gemara says, you're worried about one day. I can make Adar a 30th, at a 30th day, and I can solve the problem. So that should be an easy one. Amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov says, you're right. Betana, what was Achirim referring to? Milmaila lamata kachashiv. He's going from the higher number to the lower number. He wasn't going he wasn't working his way up. He was working down. V'achikamer, this is what he means to say. Ad mi'utai ma'abrin, until a minority of the month, you're going to make a leap year. Bekama mi'utai, what is considered the minority of the month? Arba siyam. That means that if the tkufa falls on the 16th of the month, then I have 14 days, which is up until the 16th. Up until the 16th, I can still do this. But if it's going to be less than that, then it's going to be a problem. So he's still referring to Nisan. Yeah. So in other words, the 15th I can get away with, because I can make Adar into a leap month. But it's at the 16th, which is going to be a problem. So working our way down when it's 14 days left, that's going to be the problem. If it falls on the 16th, that's when I have a problem, which means 14 days left. If it falls on the 15th, I can avoid it by adding an extra day to Adar, and then I can get it to fall on the 14th. So it falls on the 16th, that I can't resolve. I can't add 2 days to Adar. Ravina Amar Laila Machirim the Tishrei Kaimi. No, we're going back to Tishrei. We're not dealing with Nisan. Because Sabri Achirim Kulachag B'inan V'Yom Tov Rishon. Achirim holds. Why do we say 14 days? We said that you only need Cholamayid. Now you're telling me 14 days, but the first day is Yom Tov, so it's 15. Is shouldn't be a problem. because so he holds Yom Tov Rishon Chag Asif Ksiv. He says he's including the first day of the holiday, which is on the 15th. That's why he said 14 days is good. But we never said that. We said that it was only Chalamayid. The Gemara says, no, I'm sorry. This is the question. Yom Tov Rishon Chag Asif Ksiv. It's the time of gathering, and since on Yom Tov you're not allowed to gather, so obviously we're not referring to the Yom Tov. We must be referring to Cholamayit. Should be the new season. The Gemara answers, Chag Haba Bizman Asifa.
During it.
That the holiday which comes during that time, which means that we have, even though on Yom Tov itself you can't do the gathering, but the holiday we're saying that the holiday should be done during that. The holiday comes on the time of the gathering, but not that you're actually allowed to do it on that day. Okay, let's leave it over here.
Yeah, thank you.